In a recent video, I said that Vegan Gains still tolerates me, even though I've criticized him so much. Because I've had a whole bunch of videos disagreeing with Vegan Gains.
Yeah.
Vegan Gains just cut me off. Vegan Gains just decided I crossed the line. He doesn't ever want to talk to me again. He blocked me on Facebook because of, well, I guess from his perspective, I'm too anti-racist.
This is correct. I believe not.
Cool. So this is Chiang Mai, Thailand, talking to Vancouver, BC, Canada. So we can talk about whatever, but I just got a question from the audience. And to be honest, when this first happened, I thought, oh, I should talk to Quest about that. But you know,
Last night, or?
No, not my historic confrontation with Truth Crab over the low quality of audio on my channel. No, that's a relatively trivial matter to me. I'll buy a better microphone.
It got heated pretty quick, I will say.
Yep.
It has to be mentioned.
Well, anyway, look, I'll buy a better microphone when I have a better home to put the microphone in. That's basically my situation. Right now, I'm living out of a backpack in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Oh, hey, what up? Is this Mrs. Quest?
Yeah, it's Idle. She's like, is that Idle?
Cool, what up?
Yeah. This is.
So this is the first I've seen of Mrs. Quest. Do you want me here? I'll show off in parallel. Melissa can come over.
Let's get a Friday night couples thing going on here.
Hi, Mrs. Quest.
All right.
Yeah. So what do you count as Mrs. à-bas-le-ciel? Mrs. Ciel?
Mrs. Young.
Cool.
It's glitz. That's good though.
Cool.
So yeah, all right. So, but can you understand Crab's sentiment?
Sure, totally. But like I say, I've been living out of a backpack, going from China to Thailand, and now back and forth to France. So I have a daughter. I don't know how well Mrs. Quest knows my situation, but I have a daughter in France. So I've been flying back and forth to France, and so everything's got to fit in one backpack and one suitcase. So I'm not in a position where even I can own like a boom for the mic or bigger mic or whatever. But I am moving back to Canada, so who knows? Sky's the limit for Friday Quest. Anyway, Quest, what I was going to say, what I thought of you was, I thought of you about talking about this topic when it came up was, in a recent video I said that Vegan Gains still tolerates me, even though I've criticized him so much. Because I've had a whole bunch of videos disagreeing with Vegan Gains.
Yeah.
Vegan Gains just cut me off. Vegan Gains just decided I crossed the line. He doesn't ever want to talk to me again. He blocked me on Facebook because of, well, I guess from his perspective, I'm too anti-racist, which is bizarre to me. So, like, I have like 800.
His best friends, the McCarthy. I thought for sure that you would.
Exactly. But up until now, he's tolerated me. And I don't know if you've checked, but Tara McCarthy, she deleted pretty much all the videos on her channel. So I think she just has one video up now as a placeholder. But the McCarthys, they keep covering their tracks. They keep posting racist shit and then deleting it. And just for anyone who doesn't know, this is not a little bit racist. It's not like you may have a grandparent or an uncle who's a little bit racist. They're just old-fashioned. You may have a friend from high school who's a little bit politically incorrect. We really should have a different word for that other than racism. Because this is hardcore racism. Their position is that they want to exile all non-white people from North America, from the United States and Canada. They want to exile all non-white people. And I have seen Tara McCarthy.
Yeah, he thinks we're actually like apes and stuff like that. Like, yeah, he's
right.
He's the worst of the worst.
Okay, but even if you think people are apes, it doesn't mean you want to exile them from the country. You know what I mean? It's actually next. It's one thing to think people are apes. There are Chinese people who are racist against Mongolians, but they don't want to kill all the Mongolians. You know what I mean? It's a little bit, there's degrees of racism. This is really, really quite extreme. But I have seen Tara McCarthy being asked about Vegan Gains, because you probably know Vegan Gains is half white. So I have seen her directly answering a question on YouTube /livestream, where she was asked, what would you do about Vegan Gains, given that he's half white, half black? Would you also exile him? And long story short, she did her usual thing, which she prefaces the answer by saying that she's against violence. She's not literally a Nazi. She doesn't want concentration camps. And so she goes through all the disclaimers, but she doesn't want violence and she wants things to be orderly and peaceful, etc. But yes, she would even exile Vegan Gains from North America. Now, I know Richard has seen this. I know Vegan Gains has seen this because I asked him about it. I mentioned him. Do you realize your good friends, Cory and Tara McCarthy, actually would even kick you out of the country as a half-black person? And, I think his response...
Well, they would treat him nicely, though, at least.
Where is he going to go? Is Vegan Gains going to go back to Africa? Like, there are some people who positively connect to the back to Africa thing. I don't want to go back to Israel because I'm half Jewish. back to Israel. Some ancestors of mine were in Israel like 1,000 years ago. You know what I mean? Anyway, sorry, it's bizarre.
He started his own place, right?
Yeah.
So how does that? So I guess you and Rich aren't going to be hanging out for like lunch or anything when you guys get back.
Okay, literally, like I have a piece of paper with a list of people to buy gifts for while I'm in Thailand. I literally took his name off the list of people to buy gifts for. But yeah, I assume we were gonna meet up with him in Toronto because we're gonna be in Ontario. We're gonna come to British Columbia also, but we are gonna be in Ontario. Yeah. So look.
What about mod vegan? What kind of vegans in Canada?
Wait. We can talk a little bit. I want to ask you about this. What the fuck is your explanation for Vegan Gaines' position in this? Like, how do you psychologically or philosophically explain this connection or his attitude or perspective in reference to Cory McCarthy, in reference to race itself? Like, race is something simpler than racism. You know what I mean?
I think it's pretty simple. Like, if you grow up in something, then you're eventually, you're either going to be against it or you just go with it. Like, it's, for lack of a better word, white supremacy. It's kind of like a lot of the building blocks of where we're at. So it's not really that surprising that Richard's kind of like into it too.
Okay,
it's easier. It's much easier. It's much easier to go with it than to go against it. I don't know if you if you understand what I mean, but it's much easier to embody that stuff, and it makes it more comfortable for everybody else than it is to like go be like myself and be like verbally openly against it and risk like people not liking you and shit like that.
So look, the one sense in which I don't get that is he didn't grow up in Texas. He grew up in Toronto, right? Yeah. Like, so when I grew up in Toronto, I've said this in a couple videos, and people sometimes don't believe me. Where I grew up, everyone was left-wing. Like, everyone. Yeah. All the school teachers are left-wing. The school principals are left-wing. All the authority, the cops are left-wing. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know, Vancouver might not be that left-wing, because I haven't really spent much time in Vancouver. But, like, a lot of cities in Canada, like, when people ask me why don't I spend more time criticizing conservatives, a lot of time my answer is I don't know any conservatives. Like, I'm mostly dealing with really left-wing people. So, like, in terms of what would be easy for me growing up to conform to, in the same sense you just said, it would probably be being anti-white, being racist against white people. You know what I mean? Like, I think I was kind of raised in that generation where, like, for the first time we were really admitting, like, treatment of Native Americans was unforgivable. History of slavery and segregation was unforgivable. A lot of that stuff. But even the Holocaust was really being talked about openly for the first time in the 1980s. Not worth getting into why that is. But, like, a lot of that stuff was kind of cracking open when I was a kid. It was like, holy shit, like, being white is, you know what I mean? It's like, and some people really do feel that way on the internet. Being white is really something to be ashamed of, etc. And then you get the anti-white shaming discourse and all this bullshit, But I'd say, like, in terms of just being a conformist and going with the flow, Toronto is left-wing. Toronto is a really left-wing town. So, obviously there's a choice there, but he didn't grow up in Texas. He didn't even grow up in Calgary. So I do find it really surprising. It is true. One of the first things that shocked me about Vegan Gaines when I first started talking to him, I started, like, just referencing hip-hop, which is a part of my life. It's not like because, like, my girlfriend knows that. So my girlfriend's completely white, but she's from Detroit. She also grew up listening to hip-hop. And Vegan Gaines was just like, man, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, oh, like, I was talking about this rap group. And he was like, oh, no, I've never listened to rap music. So it is true. He grew up playing ice hockey. He grew up listening to, like, heavy metal, like, rock music and stuff. It's a choice, but that did surprise me. So I don't know.
It goes with the territory, right? Like, he hangs with these, like, all the rest of the people, the kind of like the rebel media type of crowd, like that. Like, alternative right is generally, it embodies those types of thoughts and feelings, like the McCarthys or whatever they're called.
Yes.
It goes with the territory, so that I'm not really surprised by Richard with the people he hangs out. What's he gonna do? Like, say, oh, don't say the N-word to all those people that he kicks it with. He's like, we can call we can call gay people this, we can call this people this, we can call transgender people this, but I draw the line at any sort of racism. Like, he's not going to do that. He's just, doesn't really see himself that way.
That's what I would assume. I would assume that if you're hanging with your friends, like, look, so I'm Jewish by blood, but I'm not pro-Israel. Like, I'm not like a pro-Israel Zionist. But nevertheless, if I'm hanging out with Muslim people who are actively saying anti-Semitic shit, it's like, dude, you know what I mean?
No, I agree with that. I mean, in terms of like, the people that he surrounds himself with,
I know, it's really weird.
They kind of like, their whole shtick is being as offensive as they want and letting that be the free speech.
Well,
it's not surprising because you don't see a crew of black dudes walking around like fighting for free speech and shit like that. So
I know.
Richard doesn't. So Richard, that's kind of like, that's where he landed.
It's weird.
I understand he landed there, but it is bizarre. But it's self-hate as like a black person. It's kind of like, that's another thing that's ingrained through society. We're meant to like not like our skin, not like our hair color, not like our eye color. Like if you look at society, you look at like magazines, movie covers, advertisements, everything, it's always been like, it's different and it's not attractive and we should straighten our hair and this and that. So self-hate through black people in North America, it's not an uncommon thing. So that's why I don't think Richard's that much of an anomaly. It's just it's interesting because he's in like this aspect of social justice, which is veganism, but in terms of human rights, like you said in the video before and I commented on, I thought it was dope. Like in terms of social sciences, Richard doesn't know shit.
Yeah, I don't think he even reads books. Like, I don't think he reads books about politics or even newspapers about politics. Like, just keeping all the way real, I don't think he reads anything like that. So I was just going to mention, Quest, the high school I graduated from, I went to 2 different high schools, but the high school I graduated from was basically like majority black. So like in the particular year, maybe it was 40% black, maybe it was 55% black, but that is very unusual in Canada because we don't have that many black people. You know what I mean? But like I can really remember. I mean, again, it was just such a left-wing context. Like, most of the black people... Okay, the black people who cared about politics at all, because not all black people do, but, like, their options were... Like, and I remember, like, one girl especially discussing with me, like, she was discussing with me whether or not she was going to choose to identify as a communist or just, like, a left-wing socialist black revolutionary, or, you know what I mean? Like, there were also some, like, Rastafarian-style, like, black left-wingers, because we had a lot of people from the islands, people from the Caribbean in Toronto. But like, I remember that whole context. There was one black guy who sat behind me in history class, and I bumped into him years later at university, and he really actually had a lot of admiration for me. He was really interested in what I've been doing with my life, which surprised me because I didn't get that impression. But I remember he would sit behind me ranting in history class. Like when we were doing the history lessons with the French Revolution, he'd be like, "Yes, all those people had to die. That's why the revolution had to kill the aristocracy." It was just all like, that's literally the high school I graduated from. And, those are the interesting people. Of course, there were black people who just watched sports and didn't give a fuck about politics, you know what I mean? But, like, in terms of the political spectrum, like, the NDP, the left-wing party, was, like, the moderate minority. Then it went further left-wing than that, you know what I mean? So, anyway, it is alien to me.
Not vegan gains.
Yeah. But also, like, I have talked to Ask Yourself one-on-one, and I do definitely think Ask Yourself has been an influence on vegan gains. So Cory McCarthy has been, and Tara McCarthy has been, and so on. But, definitely, Ask Yourself has been an influence on him. I think one of the important ways that your friends influence you is just in giving you a feeling of what's normal, So, like, Vegan Gains had one video where he said that he knows vegans who are not just left-wing. And he said Cory McCarthy is right-wing or conservative. And he said, I remember he just said he's also friends with Ask Yourself, whom he described as dead center in the political spectrum. Now, Ask Yourself supports the view, despite what Wikipedia will tell you. He supports the view that black people have lower IQ. And the sources he's citing have actually been really thoroughly debunked. I'm just mentioning, like, just checking Wikipedia. You know what I mean?
Not shockingly, but yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Not shockingly, but yeah.
No, like, I mean, look, to me, in the 21st century, that is shocking. It's like, so, like, one of the books is called The Bell Curve, and that's like 1980s, like late 1980s and early 1990s controversy. I vaguely remember that. Yeah. And there were like 2 books published debunking it. And a lot of those arguments actually did rely on falsifying the data, on inventing fake facts about black IQ there's this one Canadian university professor, and his fundamental theory was that intelligence was negatively related to sexual drive, that people with a higher sex drive have lower intelligence, which there is absolutely zero evidence for. Like, you can just look at how high people's sex drive is and the correlation with IQ. There's no, it's not true. It's not true within white people. It's not true in comparing white people to black people. And it's not true, anyone who's lived in China, it's not true that black people have a higher sex drive than Chinese people. I mean, holy shit. Walk around the fucking ghettos of Taiwan, fucking brothels going up 12 floors and shit. It's like the stereotype from...
Where are you going with this?
Look, my point... Okay, good question. Good question, Quest. Keeping us on topic. No, but like that level of racism, that level of like scientific racism, Vegan Gains has come to regard as normal and acceptable, right? Like, because that's what Ask Yourself fucks with. And then, I don't know, it blows my mind that anyone would regard the position of Tara McCarthy and Cory McCarthy as, like, normal and acceptable. It just blows my mind. But I guess there's, like, a boiling frog thing, where, you know, you get...
So are you, in terms of your friendship with him, are you hurt by the fact that he's cut you off?
It's a good question. So am I hurt by it? You know, okay, often people ask me, like, why am I playing this game? Why am I doing this at all? For me, the fundamental reward of being on YouTube and right now on YouNow and stuff is the opportunity to build bridges with, to cooperate with, and start a movement with other vegans who really want to, you know, change the world, save the planet, you know, get politically organized. Yeah, so like, you know, so for me, it's disappointing in that sense. Like, long term, like looking at the next 5 years, Vegan Gains was somebody who really had the potential to make a positive difference, you know, in veganism. So it's disappointing in exactly that sense. That, well, this is someone I'm never going to work with or never collaborate with, I guess. And the link between him and Cory McCarthy, I've just found insane. So I didn't think it would be a... Yeah. You know, I didn't think it would be a stumbling block or an insuperable barrier to that kind of cooperation.
Do you find that happening often with vegans here? If we're going to look at the track record...
Yeah.
Obviously, you and Durian were never friends.
Yeah.
Charlie?
Yeah. I tried real hard with him, right? Yeah, I mean, Charles Marlowe, I tried real hard to just keep cooperating, but he was insane.
I think you and Traveler, were you guys ever friends at any point, or?
Yes. I assume he, like, I'm not saying instead of being hatred, I assume he does have some mental health problems. Because sometimes you talk to that guy and he's totally sane and together, and sometimes you talk to him and he's completely insane. That's my experience talking to him. Yeah.
So you guys couldn't work together either on that point. What vegans have you found, like, in terms of the community, have you been able to work with?
The last time I was asked this, I remember, my number one answer was Mod Vegan. I'm still hopeful I can collab with her.
Yeah.
And probably the number two answer was Tofu Goddess. You know, Tofu Goddess's background in education. Yeah. Well, she hasn't been uploading. She hasn't been uploading lately. But yeah, so they're
she's in Calgary, right?
Mod Vegan is based in Calgary.
Somewhere?
That's right. Mod Vegan is based in Calgary. So it'll be a schlep. I was asking her recently if I should consider moving to Calgary, but Calgary's not really on my list of places to live and be. But no, well, within Canada, it's really slim pickings. And I mean, nobody ever really challenged me on this. But if somebody asked me, like, why do I still hang with Vegan Gains at all, up until the point where he said he didn't want to hang with me anymore, that really would have been my answer, was because I really care about the future of the vegan movement and anyone I've got some common ground to build on with.